Welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into a gripping story of strength and hidden suffering. Meet Nique, a fierce woman admired for her resilience and ambition, yet secretly enduring abuse at home. Her story reveals the harsh reality that abuse can affect anyone and that many victims suffer in silence. Stay tuned as we unravel the truth behind Nique's struggle and the powerful message her story leaves us with. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more compelling crime stories. Watch closely as the woman exits her car in this footage, recorded in Lawrenceville, Georgia, on July 8, 2011. This is Nique Leili, a 44-year-old mother of three. At first glance, it appears to be an ordinary evening captured by her husband's security system. However, this footage conceals a troubling mystery. Just hours after it was recorded, Nique vanished, and inexplicably, none of the 21 security cameras positioned around the house captured what transpired that night. All that remains is this chilling, partially corrupted audio recording.
Get the you not touch me! Get off me! Get off! You stop! Let me go! Now!
15 years earlier, in January 1996, 5-year-old Alex was living with her single mother, Nique, in Athens, Georgia. In her short life, she had already experienced her parents' divorce and watched her mother navigate the world of online dating.
I don't know that my parents were ever meant to be together. My dad dropped out of high school at 9th grade and made his way working through the world, and she was getting her master's degree, and so their lives were on different paths. Everything had been dark and hard with the divorce and being a single mom, so that just kind of was a light place for her to fall.
In the chat rooms, Nique connected with Matthew Lively, a charming and tech-savvy New Yorker. After a period of online dating, he relocated to Georgia to be with her. 2 years later, Nique was expecting her second daughter, Amanda. On February 14, 1998, the couple got married.
It was kind of like one of those love stories that we would tell our friends, like, oh, they got engaged and married on Valentine's Day. My parents always seemed really happy. It definitely seemed like we were doing really well.
Behind her younger sister's view, Alex struggled while living with their father. He treated her harshly compared to his own daughter, frequently mocking and verbally abusing her. Despite this, Alex was resilient and refused to let anyone push her around.
Like my mother, I have a temper, and it becomes this blurting anger. Screw you, you're a blah, blah, bleep, 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 bleep. I can honestly say there's never a point in my life where I truly cared or liked him.
As if things weren't already challenging, their situation deteriorated further when Matthew decided to install a comprehensive security system after Amanda's bike was stolen from under their porch. A total of 21 cameras were set up, including some inside the house and others capable of recording audio.
It was very uncomfortable all of the time. You know, he had a camera in the living room that faced the couch, so if you wanted to sit down and watch TV, you were being monitored.
It wasn't just surveillance, it was recording the entire time.
It didn't seem odd for me to have cameras around the house. It was always kind of cool because my dad would be checking the camera footage from the night before and be like, oh, Amanda, get in here. There were deer in the front yard last night.
Following the installation of the security system, Matthew developed an obsession with home security and began planning to turn his newfound interest into a business, hoping to support himself and pay off the family's accumulated debts. Meanwhile, Nique started working more than 65 hours a week. This seemingly minor detail had severe consequences, as Matthew eventually convinced himself that Nique was having an affair.
I just remember there was a point where they started arguing almost every night, and I'd be waking up a lot more. My mom would be yelling, she'd throw stuff, she'd scream and swear.
I'm not listening to the accusations anymore. I'm not listening to any more of your to the get the out of my way. Get out!
The situation was tough for the three sisters, particularly for Alex, who had endured Matthew's obnoxious behavior for years. At 16, she decided she had had enough and packed her bags to move in with her biological father.
Alex told us, I'm not gonna live here anymore, I'm moving out. I remember kind of just all three of us just crying.
All I could think about was, I'm leaving my mom, I'm leaving my mom.
After Alex left the Leili home, Nique's sister, Amy Robinson, made every effort to keep the family united. In 2011, she arranged a spa day for Nique, Alex, Amanda, and their youngest sister, Rebecca, hoping to strengthen their bonds. Tragically, this would be the last time the three sisters and their mother would be together.
Snapshots, everybody looks pretty happy. Good girls' day out.
Yeah, it was fun. And I'm beyond grateful now that we've done it, so.
Later that day, Alex told her younger sisters that leaving was the only option for her. Amanda reassured her that she harbored no resentment. Over the 3 years since Alex left, Amanda came to realize how unbearable the situation with their father had become and understood that something needed to change.
She looked at me and said, "This is the best thing for you."
With Alex gone, the situation deteriorated for Nique as Matthew, convinced she was hiding something, began spying on her.
I'm recording my wife. I've got a tracker on her.
This pushed Nique to her breaking point.
She called me up and she just said, "That's it. I'm tired of all the mistrust. I'm done. I hate my husband. My marriage is over."
2 weeks later, Amanda was jolted awake by the sound of her parents arguing loudly in the middle of the night.
Then eventually she'd kind of just storm out. And then I woke up the next morning and Mom wasn't there.
Matthew reassured Amanda and Rebecca that their mother had probably just stepped out for a short while. However, when 2 days passed without any sign of her, the girls grew increasingly worried. They urged Matthew to contact their Aunt Amy, suspecting that Nique might have gone there after their recent argument.
So I answered, and it was Matt. And he said, "Have you talked to Nique?" I said, "No, why? What's going on?" And he said, "Nikki's missing." I said, "What the hell are you talking about? What do you mean she's missing?" I said, "How long has she been gone?" And he said, "I haven't seen her since Friday night." And I said, "What? You need to call the police."
On July 11th, Matthew reported Nique as missing and shared his theory about her possible whereabouts with Amy, Nique's sister, and the police officers.
Maybe she has run off with somebody, who knows? She made all the money. Maybe she was socking away money in a secret account that he didn't know anything about, and she took off.
It feels almost too good to be true. However, Alcala has indeed been arrested after relocating to the other side of the country and assuming the name John Berger.
Matt said she's been having breakdowns and she's been just kind of losing her mind.
My mother was the farthest thing from crazy you could get.
2 weeks passed with little investigation and no media coverage until Alex had an idea. She proposed organizing a large search party, believing it would compel the news to cover her mother's disappearance.
Frankly, grown woman having left her house wasn't that interesting a story. Well, 100 people getting together all wearing red shirts, so there's an interesting story, so they covered that.
And we met at the Walmart near her neighborhood. 100+ people came.
15 minutes into the search, as a news crew began filming, a piercing scream echoed from the woods.
Linda, we were just about to interview the missing woman's sister when we started hearing screaming coming out of just inside of those woods.
And I blacked out. I just remember hitting the ground. But as soon as I came to, I took off running. And I ran all the way to where the crime scene tape was.
You can't, baby. He waited 2 days to even report her missing. And he told me that they'd had a huge fight and that, she wasn't well and that she'd been having breakdowns and stuff. But I saw her 2 weeks ago and she was fine.
And I'm just praying it's not her, but if it is, then I know she's with God. She's with her Jesus.
We're going to be roping this whole area off.
Investigators are talking with Leili's husband and searching the couple's home, but police say he is not a suspect.
Even Amy, who was very close to Nique, had no suspicions about her husband. In fact, his calm demeanor and commitment to protecting his young daughter seemed commendable at the time.
Matt's attitude about it was keep everything calm and keep the girls from, being panicked about their mom being gone. He was trying to protect them.
We didn't really know what happened to her. We were just told she was found dead.
At just 19, Alex took on the role of the family's spokesperson in the aftermath. Day after day, she appeared on television, recounting the struggles surrounding her mother and grappling with the enduring guilt she felt for leaving 3 years earlier.
It was the worst experience, and I hope I never experience that kind of pain in my life again. Ever.
This has taken all the strength from within me just to stand here now, because at 19, I never felt this would be a reality.
As soon as Nikki's body was found, authorities assigned Sergeant Richter, District Attorney Jones, and Detective Everson to the case. The trio was promptly dispatched to investigate the scene of the discovery.
When I saw her laying there in the ground, you know, in the elements, the heat of July, underneath a pile of leaves, naked, I couldn't accept it.
The detectives were startled by two significant findings from the autopsy report. First, Nikki's feet were entirely clean, suggesting she hadn't walked in the forest and was likely dropped there. Second, drugs were detected in her bloodstream.
She tested positive for an abnormal level of gamma-hydroxybutyric acid, which is commonly known as GHB, which is called the date rape drug. Did somebody give Nique Leili this drug in order to overpower her or ultimately to kill her?
Detective Everson decided to investigate Matthew, who was not yet a suspect, after discovering that he had a comprehensive 24/7 security system installed both inside and outside the house. The detective went to review the footage to see what he could uncover.
I had never seen anything like this in somebody's house before. I realized that this could be a gold mine of evidence because it showed every vantage point you could from leaving the house.
Unfortunately, it wasn't going to be straightforward. In fact, it was quite the opposite. After copying Matt's hard drive, Everson found over 500,000 video files, all lacking titles, dates, and timestamps.
It was looking for a needle in a stack of needles because I mean you couldn't even tell what you were looking for. There was so much video that literally the only thing I did for 4 months, about 60 hours a week, was watching video on my computer.
Eventually, Everson made a discovery, but it raised more questions than it answered.
I finally found one like July the 8th, the night of Nique's disappearance. I'm thinking, okay, maybe I've got the right block, and no matter how much I looked, I didn't find anything else past that point, shortly after midnight. That is the last footage we had of Nique.
48 hours of footage were missing, with the cameras only being reactivated after Matthew reported Nique missing. This naturally raised red flags for the detective.
That was a little odd. For there to be a whole weekend of footage missing, that seemed to indicate there was something to hide.
Matthew swiftly claimed that Nique was to blame for the missing footage. It was around this time that Amy and the rest of the family began to notice a pattern. Whenever the police uncovered a discrepancy in Matthew's story, he would shift the blame to Nique.
I ran inside to check the camera system, and that's when I realized the cameras were off. And she always shuts it off when she leaves, when she's pissed off.
Matt had told us that Nique pulled out the wires and messed up the whole system. It was clear he was trying to paint this picture that Nique had gone round the bend and had lost her mind.
But Everson wasn't fooled. From that point on, Matthew became the prime suspect. When the detective examined Matthew's phone, he discovered that it not only tracked and recorded Nique's phone, but also Alex's and his own. The records revealed numerous suspicious calls, with 3 in particular standing out. Notably, after Nique's disappearance but before Matthew reported her missing, he had told his brother-in-law that he had completed the paperwork to divorce her.
I told her if she doesn't straighten up, I'm going to divorce her. And I saw an attorney about it too, just yesterday.
The next day, in a separate call, he mentioned that he intended to have his wife committed to a mental institution.
I was at the courthouse swearing out a warrant for Nique Leili for involuntary committal.
However, a week earlier, in a different call, Matthew's tone was entirely different. He even manipulated Amanda into urging her mother not to file for divorce herself.
Hey, Mommy. Hey, baby, how are you? We need to save this family.
Your mommy has tried very, very hard. Amanda, hang up the phone, please.
Hey, I don't want a divorce, okay? May not be a perfectly functional family, but we're a family, and I'm going to fight for my family. That includes you.
Everson couldn't shake the feeling that Matthew's tone was menacing. The next call on the record was to 911.
Yes, my husband refuses to let me leave the house. My wife is yelling and screaming and just woke up the children. I think my wife just throwing a type of tantrum. I don't think we need the police. Let me have her tell me that, sir. You don't need to come. I'll stay in my house all day.
Everson knew they lacked sufficient evidence for an arrest, but felt compelled to question Matthew about the calls made in the days leading up to his wife's disappearance. When he arrived at Matthew's doorstep, he was surprised to find that Matthew, Amanda, and Rebecca had all relocated to Vermont. After 7 months of investigation without solid evidence for an arrest, the detective closed the case and presented his findings to Sergeant John Richter, who chose to take over the investigation himself.
He literally started over so that he could see if there's anything that anybody might have missed.
Richter forwarded all the computer equipment and copies obtained from Matthew to his department's digital forensics team. Eventually, they managed to restore some data from the computer. Among the recovered files, they found a folder labeled Fights, which contained thousands of audio clips similar to those Everson had previously examined. None of the clips were labeled or dated, so for nearly 2 years, Sergeant Richter and the DEA meticulously sifted through the vast array of recordings documenting the arguments between Niqué and Matthew, captured by Matthew himself.
I know that when we go 2 days without sex, you're going to automatically assume I am on strike mode, no matter what else is happening.
It was absolutely awful to listen to those audio recordings.
Initially, Richter and Jones had differing views. The audio recordings predominantly featured Niqué's outbursts, while Matthew consistently appeared to be the more reasonable party.
Please. You do not want to do this with me right now at all.
What did I do?
I've spent 5 years trying to figure out how to damn please you.
You get this sense of maybe she is volatile and he's really the calm one in the relationship.
But to me, I could tell right away what he was trying to do. He was just trying to manipulate her to act like that.
Richter was correct. Upon closer examination by the forensic team, it was revealed that nearly every recording had intentional pauses. Matthew had selectively recorded only portions of their arguments.
He would start the recording after a huge blow-up that they had had, and then when he's calmed down, he wants to have a conversation about it.
He would talk to her for 6 hours. He would bring her into her room and discuss whatever rules he had in place that she was breaking.
Let the record show I am now locked in a room again. I don't want to be here. I don't want to have this conversation. I'm asked out of it.
The records show that she's being an absolute.
Once they completed their review of the audio files, the team uncovered several incriminating clips related to the murder accusation they intended to charge Matthew with. Additionally, the district attorney decided to include charges of eavesdropping, illegal surveillance, and sexual assault.
There was evidence on the recordings that he was physically abusing her, and he was getting more and more frustrated, and he was getting more and more violent.
Get the you not touch me. Oh, get off me. Get off! You stop. Let me go. Now.
As the evidence continued to accumulate, the police still lacked crucial information directly linking Matthew to the murder. That's when Richter had an idea. He requested that the digital forensic team virtually reconstruct Matthew's surveillance system to track his daily activities. Once they identified the logs, they could pinpoint what Matthew had been doing with his computer around the time of Niqué's disappearance. Clearly documented were 2 highly incriminating actions. On the day Matthew reported her missing and the day her body was found, he had deleted numerous video and audio recordings from his computer.
In order to do the deletion of the files, you had to be an individual that knew a password to the system. We knew that Nique Leili deleted the footage off the surveillance camera. We had enough evidence to charge Nique Leili with the murder of his wife.
By this time, 4 years had passed since Niqué's body was discovered, and Amanda, Rebecca, and Matthew had been living away from Georgia for some time. After their mother's death, the girls relied on their father for support and were unaware of the details and suspicions surrounding him.
Rebecca and I just kind of clung on to my dad. after losing her.
As they grew older, they eventually came to understand the reasons behind the division of their family.
We just knew that my mom's side of the family thought my dad had killed her.
Meanwhile, Alex continued to grapple with the overwhelming guilt she felt for leaving her mother with Matthew. However, as she grew older, she gradually accepted that there wasn't much she could have done at the time.
I don't think she knew how to get out, and at the time I was so young I didn't know how to help her get out.
Now in her 20s, Alex was determined to do everything in her power to seek justice for her mother. Little did she know, the opportunity to do so was just around the corner.
There was something I wasn't doing to help fight for justice. There was something I was missing. She just wanted to scream at the rooftop, he did it, do something.
In an ironic twist, Matthew returned to Georgia to collect Niqué's life insurance payout. As he was leaving the building, he unexpectedly encountered Sergeant Richter, who was there with an arrest warrant.
The look on his face when we placed the cuffs on him and tell him he's under arrest, it's just a great feeling.
I grabbed my phone and looked it up, and I'm like, holy my dad was just arrested.
This is a prepaid collect call from
Matt.
an inmate at Gwinnett County Sheriff's Department.
Okay, listen to me very carefully. Make sure you tell people we have set up a YouTube channel to tell you the truth about what happened in our home. My daddy's now in jail because of these false allegations. It's time we tell the truth.
Yes, sir.
Unaware of the evidence accumulated against her father, Amanda started a YouTube channel titled Nique Leili's Kids Speak Out.
Finally time for us to tell the truth and for us to call them out on their lies.
In her videos, she meticulously followed her father's instructions.
Let's say something insulting. This pathological lying family that doesn't want their dirty laundry aired.
The family is making sure that we can't say anything to keep their dirty laundry from being aired.
Matthew also instructed Amanda to mention the YouTube videos whenever a journalist approached her. Before long, every news channel in Georgia was covering them. As public opinion wavered between Amanda and Alex's sides, Alex was shocked to see her own sister betray her.
It breaks my heart, to be completely honest. They said some hateful things about our family. They painted our mom like someone she really wasn't.
As angry as I had been with them because they had posted those YouTube videos, I knew where it was all coming from. I knew that they had been manipulated.
The way my dad put it to us was they're trying to take us away from him, but we still 100% believe that he was innocent.
As the date of the trial approached, Matthew began exposing Amanda to things no 14-year-old girl should ever have to deal with in preparation for his session.
He would make me listen to all the recordings of him and my mom arguing, and I would have to take notes on them.
Lower your voice!
Traumatized by what she was hearing, but still under her father's manipulation, Amanda found herself at a crossroads. She had to choose between continuing to support him, hoping he was truthful when he claimed that despite their conflicts, he hadn't killed Nique, or refusing to help and risking rejection from both sides of her family for her inaction. Ultimately, she tried to persuade her father to leave her out of the situation.
Whenever I would ask him, why can't your lawyer do this? He would just say, don't you love me? Don't you want me to come home? You're the only one I can trust to do this.
Overwhelmed by the pressure from her father and the intense loneliness from being cut off from her family, Amanda ultimately gave in and agreed to be her father's key witness at the upcoming trial.
I still love him. He's my dad, and I have good memories of him. It's just really hard to think of, my dad as doing something like that.
The thought of losing her only remaining parent was overwhelming. With the future of her entire family resting on her shoulders, the teenager reluctantly began preparing for her testimony.
It was kind of just constantly feeling guilty. So I was just kind of felt like I was alone.
On January 27, 2016, Matthew's trial commenced. District Attorney Jones began her presentation by playing a brief clip of Nique speaking to her husband after one of their arguments. "Welcome to my world. You killed me a long time ago." Meanwhile, Alex was eager to finally share with the jury and the judge the thoughts she had harbored for years.
I wanted him to know what was going on in the house. I wanted him to know that I suspected him from the beginning, that my mom would have never left her girls.
She was the first to take the stand, and her testimony aligned perfectly with the evidence found in the recordings recovered from Matthew's computer.
They'd be arguing and he would end up locking her in a bathroom. She'd been shoved downstairs. There were several nights that I would lay up at night and listen to her say, "Please get off of me, you're hurting me."
She was the first to take the stand, and her testimony aligned perfectly with the evidence found in the recordings recovered from Matthew's computer.
She was pacing back and forth saying that she was hearing voices, and like the voices in her head were telling her that people were talking bad about her.
But Jones was unafraid to challenge the young teenager's reliability.
We made our own decision. We don't like that side of the family, so we want to stay away. It's not him forcing us to stay away from them.
Amanda's immediate mention of her father when Jones questioned her raised several eyebrows in the courtroom. Her defensive testimony, combined with the circumstantial evidence gathered by Richter and Jones, only strengthened the jury's belief that Matthew was a skilled manipulator, willing to exploit anyone, even his own daughter, to achieve his goals.
He murdered her in that house, in that room, when he had his way with her.
Prosecutor Jones let the victim's own words fill the courtroom just before jurors were given the case.
You telling me you should have killed me, putting your hands around my throat?
I should have let you kill off. Why should I bother being the one to do it?
After more than 3 hours of deliberation, the jury found Matthew guilty of malice murder, felony murder, illegal surveillance, and eavesdropping.
Nique Leili's family looked shocked and cried as that verdict came down in a short 3.5 hours from when the jury began deliberations.
As soon as I heard guilty, I probably squeezed her hand so hard, I'm surprised it didn't break. So it's just so did he just say guilty? Did he say guilty? Are you sure?
Ultimately, it was the combination of evidence that convinced the jury. In addition to the deleted footage and audio clips, the narrative uncovered by Jones tied everything together.
Matt Leili and Nique, they did go out that evening. They came back shortly after midnight. Do I think he drugged her? I do. I think he gave her the GHB. He just wanted to absolutely gain control over her.
Why did he do it? Because she was leaving him. Based on his controlling personality, he wasn't going to let her leave. If I can't have you, no one will.
After the sentencing, Alex was deeply saddened by the man's refusal to seek reconciliation. She moved forward with her life, holding on to the hope that someday her sisters would come to their senses and reconcile with her and Amy.
We had lost not only Nique, but both of them too.
They were my girls. I still love them to this day. Taught them how to read, got them ready for school in the morning. I would love to have a relationship with them again. I don't know that that day will ever come, but I want them to know my door's always open.
Removed from her father's influence, Amanda eventually regained control over her own thoughts and reevaluated the situation. She had listened to the recordings, seen the pictures of her mother's injuries, heard the DA explain that Nique had been drugged, and discovered that her father had deleted the footage from that night. Despite her love for him, Amanda had no choice but to confront the truth once and for all.
And then once I started feeling like he wasn't innocent, I was kind of almost disowned in a way. Then I just started crying. And that was the first time I had really started crying in years about my mom and my dad and everything that was going on.
Following this cathartic experience, Amanda reached out to her estranged sister, whom she hadn't spoken to in over 8 years. With the truth revealed and justice finally served, they now had a chance to reconnect and start anew.
Now that we've rekindled a relationship, it has been incredible. Last year, I went up to help Amanda move into her dorm for the first time. And when I got on the plane, I bawled like a baby because I said, I wasn't supposed to do that.
Amanda had been keeping her grief bottled up for all this time. But now that she was reunited with Alex and her aunt, she could finally process her pain and view her mother in a new light, free from her father's relentless animosity.
Now that like I've reconnected with my mom's side of the family, like I'm able to think about her a lot more now, and I definitely feel like she'd be proud of who I am. I feel like if I was able to speak to her, just tell her how much I miss her.
To everyone who knew her, Niqué was seen as a fighter, ambitious and tenacious. Yet despite her outward strength, she was secretly enduring suffering at home, illustrating that abuse can affect anyone and that many victims suffer in silence. In honor of her memory, Amanda, Alex, Amy, and Rebecca want every abuse survivor to know that there is always a way out.
There's this shame that goes along with being a victim of abuse. You are not the person who's done anything wrong. The abuser is who's wrong. You are worthy of love and respect. Make sure to tell someone you're not alone.
Thank you for joining us for today's deep dive into Niqué's story. Her strength and courage were evident to all who knew her, yet behind closed doors, she faced unimaginable suffering. Her story reminds us that abuse can happen to anyone and that many victims endure in silence. In honoring Niqué's memory, Amanda, Alex, Amy, and Rebecca are committed to shining a light on these hidden struggles. They want every survivor to know that there is always hope and a path to safety. If you or someone you know is facing abuse, remember that help is available. Reach out to local support organizations or hotlines for assistance. No one should face this alone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest content. Your support helps us bring these important stories to light.